Welcome to another episode of Sneaks Rhymes in Life. I am your host, Lionel McDonald. So we talked about Super Bowl pregame. We got to talk about it postgame. So let's talk about the game first, and then the main topic today will be about Kendrick Lamar and everything that was Kendrick Lamar Duckworth. That's his full name. You didn't know, and everything that happened with the Super Bowl halftime performance. Some loved it. Some didn't love it at all. I'm going to give you some context behind what happened and why did things end up the way that they did. And maybe it will give people a different perspective of why things went down the way that it did. I'm wearing my Kendrick Lamar shirt. Got him. You'll see why I say that I've got him, because I've been on this for a minute. This particular sneaker that he wore during the Super Bowl. There's a lot. So let's talk about the game. Wow. So I don't even remember the score because it wasn't even that close. We really thought this was going to be a one-score game and that it would come down to the wire and we would see potentially Patrick Mahomes come down the field and try and win the game for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it would be the third Super Bowl in a row. There was fantasies. I told people it was going to happen. Taylor Swift is going to get proposed to. Travis Kelce's going to propose to her. He's going to retire. They're going to ride up in the sun. What an amazing Hollywood story. Yeah, Eagles had something to say about that. The Eagles are in my division. I'm a diehard Commanders fan. They are an arch rival of ours. I didn't want to see them win. I'll be perfectly honest. I told you on the previous podcast, were they the better team? Absolutely. The Chiefs had no business being in the same Super Bowl as the Philadelphia Eagles. But let's just say it was. I would have rather seen the Bills. I would rather have seen the Rams. Or sorry, not the Rams, the Ravens. Those teams, I think, are better than the KC Chiefs. But they got players that make plays. They know how to win games. They're unbelievably so well coached. But it all comes down to getting it done on game day. And the Chiefs just were a little bit off on their side. And oh my God, were the Philadelphia Eagles locked in 100%. So one of the best moments of the pregame, we've been talking a lot about the Band One. It's only in 23 stores in North America. Their marquee athlete on the football field is the quarterback of the Eagles, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts comes out to do the pregame wearing the Band One cleats. I have them myself. They are absolutely phenomenal. So fire. I think he had a custom one that looks a little bit different than mine. But needless to say, Nike continues to pour into this Band Cup and back into their roots for marketing. It was an amazing moment just to see him standing at the goal line with his back to the crowd. And he had these Band One cleats. Now, he didn't wear them in the game because there's restrictions on that they have to match your team colors, or at least have your team colors in it. There's not enough. There's no red in the uniform at all. It did have black and did have white, but it was a no-go. So he flipped out of it. But the Eagles were absolutely dominant. Now, the game did end up 40-22. I will tell you that if you watched the game or you didn't watch the game wasn't that close. It wasn't close by halftime. The Eagles had literally dominated the game from the onset and went down the field and scored and stopped them and got them off the field and scored again. So, hey, first quarter, and this pains me to talk about the Eagles in such a high regard. Jalen Hurts goes down the field, rushing touchdown, tush push. They do it again. Then they kick a field goal, up 10. Chiefs, you're still in the game. You get a score, whatever. Mahomes throws a pick. And who was it? Dejon, the rookie corner, picks it off. White boy takes it to the house. Unbelievable play. Hats off to him. Love to see corners get the shine on in the Super Bowl. And wow, we're 17-0. Before it's over, all of a sudden we get an A.J. Brown touchdown with less than 2 minutes left. It's 24-0 at the half. It's halftime. They have no points. And then we get to Kendrick, and then we come out of Kendrick. We're talking a lot about Kendrick, but we got a game to play. Hey, they need a score. They got the ball. They won the coin toss. Well, they don't get the first score. field goal by Jake Elliott. They don't get the next score. Jalen Hurts fires a missile to um, um, what's his name? Oh, yeah, that's right. He fires a missile to Smith. Touchdown again. What the hell is going on? It's like 34-0 at this point, and we get nothing from the Chiefs. Finally, we get an Xavier Worthy explosive play, 24-yard touchdown. Then Eagles kick 2 field goals in the fourth quarter, and any thought of a comeback, it's over. Like, this is done. Like, to think that the Super Bowl is so far gone in the middle of the fourth quarter is a disaster when we talk about ratings and we talk about just like the game and how competitive it is and how any team can win. And the Chiefs won 2 Super Bowls and could be going for a third, and the game should have gone down the wire. This was an absolute embarrassment by the Kansas City. You saw it on Travis Kelce's face. I don't know if Patrick Mahomes' kid kept him awake all night because he was yawning during pregame. He just didn't look sharp. He missed a couple balls. You know, we saw D-Hop with some of the best hands we've ever seen in the NFL. We saw D-Hop drop a wide open pass, and he had his mitts on, and he just didn't pull it in. Well, we get 2 late touchdowns in the last 3 minutes to make it respectable. The game ended 40-22. Again, they scored 14 points late, and it really wasn't that close. Well, 16 because they got 2 2-point conversions. So 16 points. So really they had 8 points the whole game, except for the last 3 minutes. For 57 minutes, the Chiefs had 8 points. The Eagles at that point had 40. Just like, oh my God. Like, and here we go. As a Commanders fan, the Eagles fans are gloating. They're having a great time. They said they were going to win. They were the best team. I said, they were the best team on paper in the whole league. They were the better team when they played us in the NFC Championship game. They beat us handily. Although we were in the game, down 11, had the ball, went down the field. Austin Eckler catches a pass, fumbles, and that literally turned any momentum or any chance that we had of winning the game. Then we get to the Super Bowl. We're talking about the KC Chiefs, the Chiefs that lost 1 game all year. And what happened? They absolutely embarrassed themselves, their fan base, and the entire AFC. Everyone's been talking, oh, AFC, you got the Bills, you got even the Chargers, you got the Houston Texans, you got the Ravens, you had the Steelers, and obviously you have the Chiefs. It's the better conference. No fucking chance. Is it the better conference? Not even fucking close. The Commanders were probably could have won the Super Bowl. The Lions, if they didn't lose to the Commanders, could have given someone a game. We saw that, although Sam Darnold became Sam Darnold, the Vikings on paper are a really good team. That's where they're just going to upgrade the quarterback position or just play J.J. McCarthy next year and just run it back. So there were a lot of things that people were, not that good. 49ers very injured. Maybe they could run it back one more time with a little bit of tweaking, get Trent Williams healthy and actually playing, stick with Purdy, Christian McCaffrey actually healthy for a season. They're not done. They may be, the window might be closing, but they're not done. So that's a lot about the game. The bigger conversation that we're now talking about outside the sports world is what the hell happened at halftime. Halftime, in my opinion, call it recency bias, I think it's one of my favorite halftime shows that I've ever seen. Now, hey, I love the Snoop and Dre and friends, included Eminem and 50 and others. I definitely loved seeing Usher last year. I definitely like seeing Rihanna, and I'm not a huge Rihanna fan, but I think she did an amazing job, and just how she styled everything and sung her songs, and then seeing the collaboration between J-Lo and Shakira when they did it about 5 years ago, and then somewhere in the middle there we had The Weeknd. And hey, the pendulum swung. We're doing all of this urban music now versus where we have been with U2 and Bruno Mars and so many other parts of music. So it's great to see these urban acts, and I think the influence of Jay-Z now being a part of it. Hey, a lot of people are already still saying this was in New Orleans. Why the heck did we not get Lil Wayne and Hot Boys? And hey, we got Master P came out, he got his props. Lil Wayne was too mad, could have made an appearance, probably just decided not to. Didn't get worked out with Jay-Z or the NFL, so be it. It is what it is. But we talk about Kendrick. Kendrick has been on top of the game since Like That. He dropped Like That. Then, we got push-ups by Drake. We got, and then the back and forth started, when he dropped Euphoria, it was like game over. And then we kind of went back and forth. And then we got the sinister Mr. Grant, the sinister Meet the Grams. And then before it was all said and done, we got Not Like Us. And I said on the previous couple podcasts, that song ultimately won 5 Grammys. Five Grammys. And I don't think everyone really saw it. It saw it coming, literally. I think people are saying Kendrick had a clean sweep. He technically was nominated for GNX, and he didn't win because that went to Alligator Bites Never Heal. That's done by my girl Doechii. Again, the rising star of 24 going into 25. So if you haven't figured her out, I'm plugging her again. You got to go listen to that album, and definitely you're going to hear lots more from her moving forward. But Kendrick Lamar is kind of the topic of conversation. So there is a lot of things that happened in this performance. There's a lot of complaints. People didn't like, oh, this was an overtop the performance. Where were all the guests? Where was the hit songs that have streamed a billion times? We didn't get any of that. We got Samuel L. Jackson that played Uncle Sam, and he was dressed in a United States Uncle Sam type outfit. We had one musical guest, that was SZA, and that was already confirmed that SZA was going to be there. And then obviously DJ Mustard had to show up for TV Off. It had to be done because he screamed Mustard. It's one of the most iconic moments on the GNX album. And then we had a guest appearance from none other than Serena Williams. And hey, there's a dig there because she's from Compton. She's standing on business. She's siding with the West Coast because this has become I wouldn't say East or Canada beef versus LA. And she's definitely standing like DeMar DeRozan, who played in Toronto for the Raptors, but he's not seeing eye to eye with Drake. And Drake's pop up, Kendrick and Friends pop up that happened like June or July in the summertime. DeMar was there having a great time. People didn't like it. It's like Raptor fans, DeMar, you're supposed to be our guy. He is an LA guy. He went to USC. He grew up in the Compton area. So that is what we saw, during this halftime performance. But let's take a second and go back and just think about who's this Kendrick Lamar guy, first of all. So Kendrick Lamar is 37 years old, born June 7th, 87. He's a Compton rapper, as I mentioned, from California, one of the most influential rappers that we have out there. He signed to Interscope / Top Dog Entertainment in the 2000s. His original, stage name was K Dot. So you do hear him get called K Dot quite often, at least in the early days. He was part of a group in 2005 called the Black Hippies. The Black Hippies included Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, and Absol. 4 amazing lyricists. You put those two guys together. Unfortunately, one thing or another, they did not end up putting out an album, and I think the world still feels cheated that we never got an album for them. But Kendrick Lamar's rise to fame ultimately started people taking notice by his debut album called Section 80. It was kind of alternative rap. It didn't sound the same as anything else, but his really meteoric rise started with his album in 2012, which was Good Kid, Mad City. He was on the Billboard Top 200. It's been on there the longest of any album of all time. Like, I think it's still on the list 13 years later. Rolling Stone said it's the greatest concept album of all time. 3 years later, he drops Pimp to a Butterfly. A blend of so many different styles of music. You get jazz, you get funk, you get soul, and obviously, and even a feel of mix of R&B. There's a splash of it in there, and then obviously you get hip hop. 2017, you get his fourth album, Damn, one of the most critically acclaimed albums, and I think for this era, a lot of them gravitate to Damn because of Element, because of Fear, because of Feel, like just some of those songs. Personal favorite song is Duckworth. The album is a concept. You can play it forward. It sounds totally different if you play it backward. And there's another concept that they actually played the tracks in reverse, not spinning the actual track reverse, but like the track listing from Duckworth, which is the last song, all the way to the first song. So 2018, we got Black Panther. There was a 4-year hiatus. Even on this podcast, I said, during the pandemic, we were starving for music. We needed Kendrick Lamar to come back. And he gave us Mr. Morale and the Hot Steppers. That is an album that ultimately won a Grammy. Thought it should have gone to Nas for KD3, but that didn't happen. But then we saw something unusual because Kendrick Lamar decided, it was at the end of his contract, not to renew and to go out on his own. And this, again, squashed all ideas that there should be a Black Hippie album. Him, along with his friend Dave Free, ultimately created a new label, and they're kind of starting to do film and some other things called PD Lang. That's like two kids holding this A. Hold on to that thought, this A. And that is where Kendrick Lamar has now taken things. The first album he's actually released off PG Lang is actually GNX, which launched in November, like a week before Thanksgiving and Black Friday. I think it was like Black Friday 7 days in advance. So this is the first album that he's put out, and it's totally changed. I wouldn't say the game, but it's now accelerated Kendrick Lamar into this another stratosphere where we didn't think he even needed to go. He is arguably the biggest rap star we have on the planet now. His beef with Drake has now propelled him to whole new levels. In many regards, people believe that he's won the beef and won the diss, and what he ended up creating during the Super Bowl halftime show ultimately puts an end to it. So Kendrick Lamar also, he has the third most Grammy wins. He won 5 during the most recent Grammys, which I kind of talked about before. He won Video of the Year, Rap Song of the Year, Record of the Year, and there's like a couple other ones. Rap Performance of the Year, and I think it was like Rap Single, I believe. He just didn't win Rap Album of the Year, but he won everything else. There were some great albums that were out there, including Billie Eilish, and obviously Beyonce won for Best Country Album. But, ultimately Kendrick Lamar was the big winner of the Grammys. So let's talk about, he's got 22 Grammys. Only Kanye with 24 and Jay-Z with 25 have more than him. Eminem only has 15. Pharrell has 13. Andre 3000 has 10. Anderson .Paak, which I didn't even know, had 9. Lauryn Hill has 8. Dre has 7. Outkast is somewhere, I think they have 6. Beyonce is the all-time leader with 35 Grammys, which is mind-blowing. So, again, GNX came out in November, with this beef with Drake. Drake kind of took this beef, which, he had push-ups and really kind of, after they kind of had gone back with Second Person Shooter, it was a Drake and J. Cole song, and said they're the big three. Maybe it's Big Me, and that was one of the things that really struck a chord with Kendrick. But Kendrick's been subliminal beefing with these guys for some time. Go back to the Control verse where he calls out like literally the whole industry, saying that he is the man and he is the top dog, essentially, that's out there. So during this whole Super Bowl performance, we haven't got the breakdown yet. We're going to get to that in a second. Drake is obviously in his feelings. Drake ends up doing a concert in, I think, in Australia. And I saw the video. The concert was hype. I think it was a great performance right there. You could feel the emotion that he was fighting Kendrick on this. Did he win? No. But I think to hear the energy that Drake was coming with, I thought it was fire. And I think that concert needs to get more play. We got to get it on some type of streaming platform or something. So that's the show. The halftime show is literally only 13 minutes. And, the concept of it is like the stage is like a PlayStation. It's like a PlayStation controller. Think of that PlayStation as a Sony PlayStation. Sony is actually the one that owns the rights to or publishes or distributes Drake's music. So it's very interesting that he went with this concept. At the same time, Kendrick uses the concept that these are parts of his life and his life is like a video game. That's something conceptually that he came up with, why he went with this route. Now, hey, there were not a lot of bells and whistles. There was not a lot of things that went along with it. I think you could really, I don't know if you really would feel, if you're in the crowd, that the show was for you. And I think when you do bigger stage shows and you talk to the crowd, you can get the energy. I really feel, as I've watched it, and I watched it very closely, Kendrick was speaking to the hundreds of millions that were watching it on TV or streaming it somewhere. You could see so many times that he was making direct contact into the camera versus just doing his performance, because he was capturing the attention of everyone that's out there. So let's talk about his outfit. Someone did the math. I just found it on Instagram. The total worth of the outfit that he wore was 900, I think it was 895,000, almost $1 million. How did the heck did we get to that? Well, he had a New Era hat that was like $100. He wore this shoe here, which is the Diamond Turf or DT 96. It's Deion Sanders' shoe. This is the Colorado away color. It's not that expensive. It's not even $200. You can get this shoe dirt cheap. But I will tell you, these things, this is a black lead, and these are all strategically picked pieces. If you notice what was on Kendrick's hat, it was like, it's an unusual hat with patches. Those were actually brooches. Those brooches cost $80,000. You look at the chain that he had, and I kind of mentioned it earlier. This chain had a lowercase a, and it was like, wow, are we going back to what he said in They Not Like Us, and calling Drake and using the term A minor, and it's a lowercase a? I think a lot of people thought that. I thought that on Super Bowl night. I thought that even yesterday. I thought that even this morning. Debunked it and got the insight and went back and looked at a couple things. The A is the exact same A of his record label. There's two kids as part of the diagram of his record label that hold this A. PG Lang is what his label is called. And this A specifically is the exact A. He wore it as a chain. That chain was worth $400,000. Unbelievable. He was also wearing a ring that was worth over $400,000. So if you look at the jacket that he had, the jacket was designed by Martine Rose, one of the most elite fashion designers that are out there. If you notice the lettering that went across the jacket, it said Gloria. Glory is the last song on GNX and really ties into the closure of his album and the performance that he had. one of the biggest topics of conversation of everything he wore was his pants. Kendrick was wearing like these stone-washed bell-bottom or boot-cut jeans, and there's many regards or theories behind it. Hey, it was a fashion statement. They looked too tight. They were too long. They hid his shoes. Da 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 da. In actual fact, someone debunked and said, "Hey, you know what? Wore those shoes. These were like when people in the military wore denim in the '60s. They wore boot cut or bell bottom jeans. It's a pay homage to any time the U.S. has gone to war. This is a war with Drake. That's kind of the piece that is underlying with all of this, and that was what was essentially happening here. So there was symbolism between the style of the jeans that he was wearing. These jeans are made by Celine, $1,200. So this guy essentially, and he was wearing like a $200 basic T-shirt. I don't remember the brand that it was, but that's kind of the outfit that was almost like $1 million. So there were lots of thoughts and issues that happened with the performance. So as I mentioned earlier, Kendrick is not for everyone. Kendrick is smart, intelligent, extremely strategic, and more or less extremely petty. He has not let go that Drake talked about his family and brought his family into a very competitive rap beef, and he won't let it go. I believe in his mind, hopefully he's put this beef to rest and has put an end to it. If you see that the end of the performance, it lights up in the crowd and it says game over. Like we're playing a PlayStation game and he's calling out Drake that he's lost. It's over. Done. But not everyone liked the performance. They didn't like the songs. They didn't say Kendrick was the best performer. There was a lot of focus on Drake because he says, "Hey Drake." There was a lot of teasing of they not like us. It seemed like it was drawn out in certain sections. People just don't even like the origin of the beef or where even the beef went to. Like, we've had beefs before. I think Common and Ice Cube got in a beef, and the bitchin' you ultimately came out by Common, and Minister Farrakhan had to get involved and say, "You guys can't take it too far." This is obviously on the heels of Biggie and Tupac having their beef, and both of them no longer being with us because of where things went and how other people had to get involved. So Kendrick is very petty. Kendrick also takes things very personal and will not let things go. Drake took it there. Kendrick finished it in Kendrick's eyes. So Kendrick won't let it go. Drake is still in his feelings about what happened. So there's a lot of different things. So again, there feels like this is a niche piece. There was a lot of commentary. You see that all of these people came out of this GNX car, which is the car that he had, or his dad had in his very young years. He's such a huge fan of this car. They gutted the car. They got all these people to come out of the stage. Notice that the people came out in 3 colors: white, blue, and red. That's the American flag. He made it very American. We're in a very difficult time, essentially potentially going to war with multiple other countries. There's issues with America and the tariffs now that Donald Trump has taken over. So there's a lot of things, but he was really trying to do a piece and unite America. This is also Black History Month, so there were some undertones of the struggle of Black Americans and slavery and many other things. But this is authentic Kendrick. You have to understand that this man is really thinking about everything that he did, and he really wanted to stay in his pocket. He wanted to ensure that he was being authentic and true to himself and really being very direct and intentional with the things that he was doing. So from the dancers, then you look at the colors of the what the dancers are wearing: red, white, and blue. What's the big issue in LA and in Compton specifically? The Bloods and the Crips. You have some red, you have some blue, but here's now, like the pop-out concert that Kendrick had, he's bringing the Bloods and the Crips together. Samuel Jackson, again, using this commentary of a Black Uncle Sam, guiding him down the path. I think you also have to give Jay-Z a lot of credit to choose Kendrick as the artist. It easily could have been Lil Wayne, but I think we're the US right now, and the commentary of everything that's happening, I don't know if that would have come out in the same way. It would have been a much funner concert, people believe. I think to get some of those Hot Boy records, to get some Juvenile, it could have been a lot of fun, but that's not how this one went down. But I think if you even, for those that don't know, I'm going to wind this back a little bit. We're going to go back to Lionel with another history lesson. 1990. Why the hell do we have a halftime show now? Why? I'll tell you why. Because in 1990, one of my favorite shows of all time debuted at halftime during the Super Bowl. It started when the players went to the locker room and was done when the players came out. This is, if you know, in living color. This is the show that brought us to the world in a new and exciting platform. It was on Fox. Keenan Ivan Wayans, Damon Wayans, Kim Wayans, Marlon Wayans, Sean Wayans. So the whole Wayans family. It also brought us David Allen Greer to the forefront. It brought us the biggest star of the entire show, Jim Carrey, Tommy Davidson, Jamie Foxx, and many of the other fly girls that were a part of it. Carrie Ann was my favorite at one point. And then I saw the woman, the myth, the legend, known as a very young Jennifer Lopez. These people were all on the same show. These people debuted what we know today as this groundbreaking show. It lasted 5 or 6 seasons. Ultimately, it went down and they end up having to move on to other things. Many people, as you know, Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx, all of the Wayans brothers, Wayans family for the most part, David Allen Greer, Tommy Davidson, all had careers beyond this and became very, very successful. But the NFL saw that they lost the spotlight. So when that ended up happening, the NFL decided we need a special performer to perform at halftime so people don't go watch TV. What did the NFL do in 91? They brought Michael Jackson. Soon we had U2. Soon we had Paul McCartney. Soon we had Prince. Then we've now moved forward with Jay-Z now leading the way as partnership with the NFL. Well, we got, as I mentioned, J-Lo and Shakira. We got Beyonce. We've had Usher. We've had The Weeknd. We have, we had Eminem and Dre and 50 and Snoop. And then now we've had Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar was the right choice. The numbers have recently just come out, and it has been streamed. It was the most watched Super Bowl halftime show ever. 133.5 million, beating Michael Jackson, which was the very first one. So there were a lot of things, again, to unpack. Serena doing the Crip Walk, debuting the in Year Converse. Do you think it's ironic that Serena was there? No, it's not an accident. Serena is from Compton, holding down Compton, as I mentioned earlier. She's also an ex of Drake. Where was she dancing? On the X in the PlayStation controller stage. Not a surprise. Think of people were going about, the A minor, hey, it's the most simple chord. All of the keys are white. But that A, again, I'm going to debunk that. PG Chang, that is the logo of the label that he was using. So let's just talk about, as we wrap up, 2 last things, the song and then the protest. So the song choices, there was only 10 songs. These people had to set this stage up in 7 minutes, have them perform. 13 minutes long is how long it was. 6 minutes and change to unpack this entire stage that were thousands and thousands of pounds. So there was a lot going on in a very short period of time. He did 10 songs. GNX, Swabble Up, Humble, DNA, Euphoria, Man at the Garden, Peekaboo, Luther with SZA, All the Stars with SZA, Not Like Us, Turn the TV Off with DJ Mustard to wrap it up. Only 10 songs. So people are going, oh my God, like, where was All Right? Where was King Kuta? Where is some of the other favorite songs? He picked, of the 10 songs he's got that streamed 1 billion times, he only used 3. So let me give you the scoop. This is why he only chose those songs. So originally, as I mentioned, he signed and he did Section 80. He was signed to Top Dog Entertainment, which also worked with Interscope. All of his albums are on there. he was getting approximately, what did I got written down? 10 to 15% of the money. So when you perform at the Super Bowl, you explode in terms of the watchability. Shakira went up 300 or 250% after their performance. J-Lo went up 330% after performing at the Super Bowl. Kendrick knows this. Kendrick now is on his own label, as I mentioned, PD Lang, excuse me. By playing his own songs from GNX, he is now capturing all of the money from the streaming and not giving to someone else. Now, hey, Interscope is still involved. They're only getting 20%. Kendrick is now getting 80. So the difference would be, hey, if it's streamed 1.5 billion times songs since the Super Bowl, that's a difference of him getting like $2.1 million or $30 million if they stream GNX songs. That's the difference. It's money. Why we didn't get All Right, Money Tree, or Kunta, or any of your other favorite Kendrick Lamar songs. You just got to go play those on your own. But the people that are going to get that money, Kendrick's only getting 15, 20%. The people that are getting the money is Interscope and TDE by playing the songs from GNX, and he spent no money in promoting this. He spent no money at all in really advertising the GNX album. It was a surprise to many, including myself. So this is why he went this route, and now he is going to reap the benefits. On top of now, it's on the forefront of this concert series that he's going to do. 2 shows here in Toronto. He's going on tour. I want to say it's like 20 dates with SZA. And Toronto's got his only place has got 2 shows. So it's going to be absolutely incredible. But that is the reason why he only did those songs. The songs, if I count them now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So half of the songs he chose were from GNX. 2 were from Damn, and the other ones come from other albums, including a couple that were singles. So that is the method behind the madness of why he went the route that he went. So let's talk about the last thing. I don't want to cut it short, but there was a protest when one of his dancers on the GNX car pulls out a flag that has Sudan and Palestine written on it, and it's a Palestine flag. He shakes it, he waves it all over the place. He gets off the car, shakes it on the stage. Someone tries to usher him off. He goes onto the field and he starts running around and waving the flag. He's protesting because the U.S. right now, they want to take over what's happening in Palestine and in Gaza. They had no say. They didn't want to be a part of it. They just want to supply the weapon. Now Trump's taken over and they want to take over. Absolutely crazy and absolute madness. And this man is protesting. Do I think it's an accident? No, I don't. I think that was intentional, on purpose, and to fight for freedom for people and make a political statement. Did Kendrick know about it? I'm going to tell you he probably did. And was he okay with it? I'm probably tell you that. Do you think that it could not be that tight and not understand that this was going to happen? So this was an indirect way of having this protest happen and supporting what happens. Those are my thoughts on the Super Bowl show and the Super Bowl. There's a lot. There's more to come. I probably will watch 10 more Instagram videos or on TikTok or in YouTube and find more. And I could do a whole nother episode on what I find out after that. But that is it for Sneaks Rhymes of Life. Unpacking the Super Bowl, both the performance and the game. Appreciate you all listening. We out right now.